All right, so I basically wanted to walk through a couple of different things really quickly. A couple of you have already seen this, but we're really looking for input from you guys. I've walked through probably 9 or 10 district councils, these two different configurations. So if you guys are seeing something that doesn't work for your district council or doesn't fit in, please let us know, or please contact Donna, Alice, or myself. But the first thing, I want to share my screen here and just kind of walk through the star stuff. Give me one sec here. All right, hopefully you guys are seeing my screen. Can someone nod if you are? All right, good. All right, so star configuration. Of course, this doesn't apply to everyone, but it applies to everybody who has a star program. And so the idea around the star program, let me just quickly walk through it. So the idea is you have a configuration screen. So according to us, every district council, the star program is not run at the district council level, right? It's really run at the local union level, or can be. And so the idea is you can configure a different configuration per whichever one of your organizations that's in your district council, or if it's at the district council level, you can configure it for the district council. From there, you could do a couple different configurations, right? Choose your date range for when your members are actually seeing, generating this report from. And then from there, choose a couple of different items, right? So some of these may apply for you, some of them may not. I'm trying to encompass every single STAR program and all the district councils that have different criteria. So you could leave any of these blank if you wanted to, so if it doesn't apply, or you could add as much as you want to. But the idea here is, some people say active and suspended members are able to apply for STAR. So you have your choice of choosing one or the other, or both. Member class, ultimately this will have all the member classes, but if you allow apprentices or journeymen and industrials to do that, you can, again, choose 1, 2, or as many as you want. Work hours, ultimately this would be generated off of the work hours that we're getting in for the admin dues, but you can then generate, a member must, have a certain amount of work hours. You can put that actual criteria there. And then there is a concept between skills classes and safety classes. And so we've heard differing things from a couple of different district councils, but most of what we heard is you guys need to be able to choose what courses count for one or either. And so I know a lot of district councils don't have skill classes that actually go 4-star, but I know at least 3 district councils who give extra credit for taking a certain amount of skill courses. So the idea here is, in order to be eligible, do you have to have at least one skill class? If not, do you have to have at least one safety class or 2 safety classes, or do you have to have both? So you can kind of choose your criteria here for building the STAR report. Then ultimately, I've heard that, hey, look, only these 3 safety courses apply, or all of my safety courses apply. So what we're going to do is be able to have you guys choose what courses apply. Is it a safety or skill course, so that when we go and run this report, we'll run it based upon your criteria. And again, that's all based upon that local or that district council. So it all maps back to the actual organization that it goes to, okay? If you have things like credits or hours, I believe out in the West Coast, some people use like, hey, this, lockout and tag out is actually a 3-hour, or hours is a hard thing. 3 credits or 3 stars is, I think, what everyone uses. Course, where maybe the other course is only a 2-star course. There's an ability to actually put some sort of level around those courses. So you can add as many courses you want to for whatever your safety and skill courses are. Any questions on the configuration before I move to the report? Seeing none, love it. STAR report. And again, these are drawings, right? So this is not inside of Unite, but this is what we're drawing up for the developers so that they can understand what we're going to need to be able to see. So the idea now is to go run that STAR report, right? And so you can come up and you could choose your district council. You could add filters if you wanted to, but what we're going to do by default is give you all of your eligible people who are meeting the STAR requirement at that point in time, okay? So this will generate a report based upon the criteria that you gave us. That report would generate a list of all your members who meet your STAR requirements, okay? It would also give you a little caveat and say, hey, look, John Doe met these requirements, and here's the classes that he met to meet those requirements. We're only given a certain amount of information here, but ultimately you can export that information, which is going to give things like t-shirt size, members' address, telephone numbers, everything else that you would need to be able to see on that report or to do something with that report. So that is the generic form of the report. The next thing that you could do then is go find out some ineligible items, right? And what I mean by that is, hey, maybe you have a class that's coming up that's a star class, right? You could come up here, choose your star class, choose everybody who is, well, first you would choose everyone who's not eligible, right? And this is just, I'm just giving an example. And then you say, hey, look, I have this lockout and tag course coming up. I know that meets my star requirements. Give me everybody who's not eligible that hasn't taken this class, right? So that would then generate another list down here for you. And then you could do simple things like send an email to all those people, send a text message to all those people and say, hey, I have this class coming up. You're not star eligible. If you come take this class, you could be star eligible, yada, yada, yada. So a quick way to get some of your star numbers up and to communicate with a lot of those members who are maybe just missing a class or maybe just short because of hours or something of that sorts. So the idea is you can then change this criteria up here to get different results in your star report. Any questions around star before I go to the hard part? Damn, silent room. All right. So one of the big things, if I have been to you for Unite, one of the biggest asks is apprenticeship classes, right? We all know we do apprenticeship classes way different than we do journeyman classes. Journeyman classes is very simple. You can set up a class, add people to it, email them, complete them, very simple stuff, right? It's a one-time class, usually doesn't last more than a couple of days. Apprenticeship classes, from what we've gathered, there's like 4 or 5 different types of apprenticeship classes, right? So we have semester-long classes, we have block classes, we have in-between semester classes, we have what's considered a block, but is much longer than what a normal block from I've seen in some district councils. So we try to develop an idea around apprenticeship classes on what would kind of meet everyone's requirements and kind of put it into one module. Now, the idea around this is we're putting this in here. You guys can build your curriculum, build your apprenticeship classes. You may or may not need to be able to use some of it or all of it. Depends on if you guys do grading and stuff like that. So I'm going to walk you kind of through what these apprenticeship classes look like. And in order to not keep everybody on the phone today, if you guys have a lot of questions, I would love to sit down and walk further through this with you guys and get more feedback, but I want to walk you through it right now. So we're probably going to have 2 separate items. One is the actual builder, which is similar to the Learning Path Builder in LMS. And then the apprenticeship blocks is basically where all the classes are going to be held. I am going to need some help on the terminology at some point from you guys. There's so many different terminology items that I've heard over my last 5 months visiting everybody. And everyone calls different things. So it's kind of fun to try to figure out what's the proper term. But we'll have two new icons in Unite. From there, you are going to be able to build a curriculum, right? So this is actually building that apprenticeship class. Now, this could be a block class. This could be a semester class. It could be a couple of different things. And so I'll walk through it so you kind of understand it. But the idea is you would build this class before you then put people into it, right? And so you can name this, I don't like Painters 101, or maybe this is your first year Block 1 Painters. You could select your program. You could then, this will total up your RIs as I do down here. So I'll show you that. If you guys were using some sort of college credits, we have a couple of district councils who are partnering with community colleges that as these guys go through their apprenticeship, they actually get college credit for some of these courses. So that's the idea around this. And then we have 4 different values. So if you are doing grading, my understanding is you have theory, practical, exam, and participation are the 4 different values that you have for your classes. And so you could not use participation and leave that 0%, or maybe you don't do a final exam or an assessment, so you can leave that 0%. But ultimately, if you're grading, this is what I'm about to show you would sum up to your final grade for this block or for this course, okay? So then after that, the idea is you would build your days. So if it was a block class, maybe the block is 5 to 7 days. If it's a semester class, it could be 35 days, okay? And so you would pick the amount of days, you would then go down and then pick the actual course from LMS or the stand-in kind of course from LMS that kind of falls into this first year apprenticeship course. And so you come in here and pick like lockout, tag out. It would then go and view based upon what you guys filled out in the courses area. If this was a theory course, if it was a practical course, whatever that may be, right? Then it would tell you how many hours that you designated that course is. Now, our understanding is sometimes that you guys may take, so for this, like lockout and tag out, even though it's a 4-hour course, you may do 2 hours on Monday and you may do 2 hours next week on Wednesday. And so the idea is you can actually put in, hey, look, we're only teaching 2 hours of RI with tag and lockout today. We're going to take, we're going to add the next hours, maybe another day down the week. So you could split up that RI over that time. Then you could go, so maybe this is a day where you're doing multiple things. So you could go choose the next thing. Maybe you're doing like 3 hours of aerial lift type of scenario. Maybe you are doing another, 3 things, maybe some sexual harassment, but ultimately if you're doing 8 or 10-hour training days, or if you're just doing a 2-hour training day, you can build that first day, okay? After you build that first day, you go on to build your second day, your third day, yada, yada, yada. Now this would be your first, so it's either a course or it's going to be your first block 1, right? And so the idea is once you've built this, you then kind of have this saved curriculum for exactly what it is, right? So this is my painter decorator's first years. Maybe it's block 1, block 2, depending on what you're doing. It would total up your RI for everything that you've entered in to make sure that that's the correct RI that you're going to give that person when they pass this course. Then you would go down and choose, So then you would say, okay, great. Now I'm at the point now where I have my new apprenticeship group in. They are going to take this block 1 course. Okay. So you can name this whatever you want to. Maybe it's, year 2022, block 1, starting in June, whatever you want to name the actual block title. And then you would then go choose that curriculum you just built. So you would be able to have, is it the painting decorator year 1s? Is it painting decorators year 1s B? Whatever that curriculum you just built. You could choose your training centers. You could choose, it would already know what program it was. And then this is the generic class information that's in Unite that we're just going to kind of leave there. And then it would come and map your days. Okay. So the idea around here is you can then set a schedule for your apprenticeship classes, right? And so if you know this is a 5-day class, maybe it's 5 days in 1 week. Maybe it's every Tuesday with a Sunday training. Maybe it's every other Wednesday or something. So the idea is you guys can pick the start dates and the end dates. That you could then pick the start time and the end times for all of those days. And then I've been to some district councils where, hey, day 1 is nothing but safety information. Well, they have one guy that teaches safety, but the next day is going to be all about painting. They would have another guy that comes in and teaches the painting portion of it. So you can do multiple instructors across this kind of apprenticeship block. And then you could also see what curriculum was chosen for this. Now, a lot of people are like, well, do I have to follow this curriculum to an exact, T? I'll explain that here in a little bit in a second, but no, you don't, right? So it's really up to the instructor. This is what you guys have designed for your curriculum for what goes on in that first year apprenticeship class. Any questions on that portion? No. Okay, good.
Kurt, I got one quick question.
Yep.
So if someone created this, obviously they'd always have to change the dates. Like if they create it for this year, it's not going to be 4/6/2022 again. But could the majority of it be saved to where if they're doing it every year, it's not a whole nother workload?
Yeah, so when you built that first class, that curriculum that you chose right here is that first kind of class, right? So all of this time, all of the RIs, all you're doing is when that next year painters, that next year in your terms, glazers that come in, you know what that Glazers 101 class is. They're just choosing that here, and then they're just filling out the date and times, right? Because the date and times are ultimately going to be different next year when they come in. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of what's actually done here in that curriculum, which is my understanding, doesn't change very often, maybe every couple of years, would stay the same. It's easier for you guys to put that in. So then you would be able to put your students in. You could do that, the normal ways, right? So you come in, add a student group, add a student by name, member ID, yada, yada, yada. From here, I want to just jump over to attendance, but as you noticed, you have the same things you have with journeyman classes, right? So you could have a virtual option, you have docs and notes tabs here, you have communications to send text messages and emails to that entire apprenticeship class. And then I'm gonna hop into attendance. The idea around attendance is when we know how many days your actual curriculum is, that would fill out your attendance. So you'd have, every single day you'd have a new attendance record. And then you could pick things like present, absent, late, makeup, unknown, okay? And then we're also gonna give a note field, okay? So the note field would be for, hey, maybe this person was late, but if he came back and made it up later on in the week, you could then mark that late to a makeup and then put a note in there that that person came in and made it up. Or maybe they were absent due to some circumstance and you wanted to write down why they were absent, you could do that as well. Then the idea is you can actually generate an attendance report for that single person and showing the notes and if they are present on every single day, or if they're absent, late, yada, yada, yada. So doing a quick little attendance reports right there. Let me always get these mixed up. So that is attendance. You can also export the attendance for your entire class if you wanted to, but we assume that most people are just looking at individual attendance. Grades. So some district councils grade, some district councils don't grade, some do percentages, some do letter grades, some do pass fail. Trying to meet all of those requirements is hard, but I'm trying to do the best I can. So I'd love to hear if this does or does not work for you. So the idea is based upon the modules that you selected building that curriculum, it would now have your modules here. So as you go through, your instructor says, okay, great, we're done with lockout and tag, or maybe we're done with aerial lifts. I'm gonna come down here and I'm either gonna pass and fail all of my students that are in the class. And if I pass and fail them, I'm able to put a letter grade, or not a letter grade, a percentage grade in here. Now this percentage grade would go based upon the theory on what I created. If I go back to here real quick, these percentages in total, right? And so the idea is as you fill in these percentages per each one of these things, if it's theory, if it's practical, and you said all the theory stuff is 30%, all the practical is 40%, you're able to then have a percentage grade. I'll talk more about that in a second. So ultimately, as the instructor is going through this class, if he's giving grades per module, they can come in, hit each module, give those grades or completions, whatever he wants to do, okay? The other option is he could go then look at a single student and be able to pull up that student and all the modules in that class and grade that student directly right there versus actually doing it per section. And so maybe someone missed something, you wanted to go to that physical student to see what they're missing, yada, yada, yada. But that is the concept around grading. Now, ultimately, these percentages, if you're doing percentages, would give us a total percentage grade. Now, if you're just doing pass-fail, we would be able to just give a pass-fail nomenclature, right? But we have probably 5 or 6 councils that are actually giving percentage grades in the module level as they get to at the end of the block or whatever else, and then the block gets a final grade. And so under students, like we would in a journeyman class, we're able to come in here and complete this person in the actual block. So they finish the block, they'll see the entire grade point average from all of the modules combined, and then this would be the final grade. So they pass, fail. If you guys are actually giving letter grades, you'd have the option of giving letter grades, but now you have a grade not only for all of the modules, but now you have a entire grade for that individual block, or some people are calling them semester courses. And then we're able to generate a report based on not just the whole listing of how many classes they've taken, but now we could do an academic transcript on just block 1, block 2, block 3, or if you guys are doing semester courses, this was painting 101, painting 102, painting 201, you'd have more of a academic transcript with just those letter grades and pass fails versus listing all the 100 courses that they take over their apprenticeship time. So that was a lot in 10 minutes. Any questions? Any concerns? Can I get any thumbs up? Will it work? Will it not work? You like it? Hate it?
Hey, Kurt, this is Adam. I can tell you what you just showed me, I like. So I think you guys are going down the right road.
All right. It will work for DC7?
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I think you're one of the ones I haven't got to individually.
No, you've been here.
No, I mean to show you this individually. I've hit a couple of these after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing this, but I like it.
Perfect.
Yep, I agree with Adam as well. Kurt, you've been doing a heck of a job on this. What you're showing us right now, I think, solves a lot of what we've been looking for in the past. That STARS program, being able to, handle that in once, that is like, you've made a lot of our admin staff very happy with that. And